And welcome to Racers Odds. I'm David Styles. He is Andrew Kurland. And we are right around the corner from the Great American Race, the biggest race of the season, the Daytona 500. And Andrew is in Daytona. He's been down at production days, and he was at the duels last night. Andrew, can you give us a little bit of background on what it was like this past week down in Daytona and who looks good and what you're thinking for this coming Sunday?
I'll tell you one thing. It's exciting to be here in Daytona. I've come to this race pretty much every year the last 10, 12 years, and the energy is for real. I don't remember it being this jam-packed, this much buzz and excitement in the air the last couple of years. There's a resurgence in NASCAR that I haven't seen in a while, but we've had some on-track activity, 2 dual races, qualifying as well, and there's certainly some guys that look good. Anyone who is up front and winning a duel, obviously, is someone to watch. The Team Penske cars look great. RFK was so organized throughout that. I think it was the first dual race, maybe the second dual race. And so more than I've heard in the past, and it's important anytime you go to a super speedway in terms of having drafting partners, but more than ever, it seems like that's important. So you want strength in numbers when you come here to Daytona.
Well, and to give that strength in numbers, Chevy has the most cars in this race. They always have the most cars, but they've got that new body and the new nose. And we saw a little bit of that in that first duel when Bubba Wallace got turned around. He was being pushed by Austin Dillon, and it kind of sent him squirrely and up the track. And that kind of is what led to the situation that Corey LaJoie found himself in, where now he is out of the deal after that overtime restart. Do you think that this new body will play any kind of effect on this race? And should we stay away from betting on Chevys in general?
I don't know if it's the new body, more so as just the pushability throughout the field. Joey Logano, who won the first dual race, came in the media center last night and was talking about that. And he said, expect a lot of crashes, a lot of carnage on Sunday because no one can safely push on the straightaways where it's the most secure spot. That's where all the wrecks are happening. It's from pushes and every single car getting squirrely. He didn't seem to point it at Chevrolets, but it just seems that when you get aggressive, bad things happen more so than other years. Just these cars are really out of control on the racetrack this year.
So we've got a bunch of different bets that you can bet on. There are a few matchup groups and there are a few head-to-heads. A lot of them are even. And when I say that, I mean they're both setting at minus 115, minus 110. So they're around that flip of the coin probability. But there is one guy that really stands out to me, and maybe Andrew can back this up with some of the stuff that he has seen on track this week. But John Hunter Nemechek, out of all of these different race car drivers, he has the best average finish. And so for me, I'm looking at him to place in the top 10, and I think I would put a little bit of money on that. And it seems to be a fairly not safe bet, but a good bet on your return. Andrew, what are you seeing from John Hunter Nemechek this week as we get ready to go into the Daytona 500?
I'm seeing he has friends and more friends than ever for a Toyota driver. Talking to Jimmy Johnson, his team owner, earlier this week about being in this race, having the open exemption, a guaranteed spot. He said, I will take having one extra legacy car in the field over the points and prize money that I'm losing. And that is a big statement from a guy that's won this race twice. And so I like John Hunt. You want to look at the people who have friends with them and who are willing to be safe and who are willing to work together. And Legacy Motor Club seems like one of those teams that they don't care who wins it. As long as one of our cars gets across the start finish line and first, we're going to be happy. And I feel like this is the race that you bet on John Hunter Nemechek because you have Jimmy Johnson, an extra car out there in the field that's going to be friends with him out there on Sunday. And so, David, if you're going to bet on John Hunter any weekend, I think it's this one.
Well, if you just look at all of those legacy cars to finish in the top 10, Eric Jones plus 200, John Hunter Nemechek plus 325, and then you go down a little bit further and you have Jimmy Johnson at plus 375. Those are some big payout bets if you want to risk a little bit of money. I think the strategy for this week, because it's really hard to pick a winner. I know William Byron has won this race 2 years in a row. He had damage last night in one of those dual races, so they'll have to go to some backup car or they're going to make adjustments to it. And for me, I'm not really looking to bet on a clear winner. I think you take your bankroll and you may be able to spread out your bets a little bit over here and then maybe bet on a guy over here. And this way you're having a little bit of fun too throughout the race because you're not locked into one guy. I think that betting on this top 10 with John Hunter at plus 325 is a pretty decent bet. And if you like the rest of the Toyotas, I think that that's another avenue that you go down. Now, we do have a few different side parlays, and I would just suggest staying away from those because they're going to be extremely long odds. Yes, you don't have to lay a whole lot of money and you could come home a big winner, but it's not going to be enough juice for me. I think that you'll end up losing on that, and then you'll be sitting there at the end of the night saying, oh, I just needed like one more leg and I would have brought home like $2,000. I don't think that that's really going to pay off for you in the long run. I'm much more comfortable betting on some of these top 10s, top 3s, and I know that I said last week, let's go ahead and put Kyle Busch in the grave. He's on the pole this weekend. He has Austin Dillon, who looked really good in that other duel as well. Busch dropped back to the back. Austin Dillon spun Bubba Wallace. He had a little bit of minor damage, but both of those RCR cars look really good. And again, like Andrew said, they've got a lot of Chevys out there to work with them. And so for me, I think some good bets on those RCR cars might pay off. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
David, you nailed it with what Kyle Busch did last night. All this talk about the chase over the offseason, the duels were the first opportunity to get points that go towards your season-long total in making the chase. Kyle Busch could have gone for those points, but instead, he valued the risk versus reward, wanted to preserve being on the pole, his fast race car, and jumped out of the field. And more times than not this weekend, I have heard people say, you do not want to be exciting stage 1 and 2 because that's where you're going to get collected in a wreck and you're not going to be there at the end. I almost look at the guys who have nothing to gain from stage points as the ones that I'm excited to watch. Justin Allgaier does not care about chase points and stage points, and he is checkers or wreckers. And I feel like the best way to do that is to bail out the first 2 stages, be conservative, duck out when it gets sketchy, and be there at the end. Same goes for Casey Mears. Same goes for, I'd even throw out like a Cody Ware, someone that you'd never really want to bet on, but I don't feel like it's a realistic goal for them to make the chase, but it would be pretty sweet to win the Daytona 500. So why risk getting those stage points? Those are the guys that I'm looking at from that type of mentality.
I think, like I said earlier, if you want to bet on these underdogs, this is the race to do it. Anything can happen. We've seen Ricky Stenhouse Jr. win this race just a few years ago. Michael McDowell win this race just a few years ago. I know that you may not want to lay a whole lot of money on the line, but if you take that bankroll and divide it up a little bit between these underdogs and you hit one of them, your payout will be big enough to cover the amount that you lost on those other little smaller bets. So for me, it's very hard to look at this and bet those favorites. I would bet those underdogs, but not throw all of your money at it. Now, we do have other interesting kind of prop bets where they have top Toyota, where you can bet on those. And then you also have top Ford and then top Chevrolet. Andrew, if you're going to pick one of these guys just off of what you've seen on track, who would you pick for each one of the manufacturers right now?
Oh man, that's tough. I like Kyle Busch. I've heard his name a lot this weekend. I know he's starting on the pole, and that's the easy bet to make. But uh, he won the Daytona 500 a few years ago. Unfortunately, that race went into overtime, and so leading at lap 200 didn't matter. But I like Kyle Busch. For the Toyotas, you can go a number of different directions. I feel like the safest bet is Denny Hamlin. He has also been known to bail out when things get sketchy, to be there at the end. He was racing for the win in the Daytona 500 last year and got caught up in a crash. I feel like Denny, even though he's kind of the easy bet to make, there's a reason for that. And he's reliable, he's smart, and I think he'll be there at the end. As for Top Ford, I don't know if you want me to save it. I'm going to pick this guy as my race winner. I like Ryan Preece. I think he's going to ride the momentum of Bowman Gray. He is just on a career trajectory that's fun to watch right now. And he's my pick to win it. It's a gut feeling, but that's where I'm going with it. So I know I jumped the gun a little bit on it, but that's where I'm thinking in terms of top manufacturer drivers.
I mean, Ryan Preece is, again, he's got pretty decent odds if you're looking at someone to lay some money on in that underdog position. And he had a great run. He's plus 2,500. So that's 25 to 1. So for every dollar you bet, you would get $25 on that bet. So I like that. I think picking a race winner in that 2,500 range, again, you don't want to lay a whole lot of money on it. This isn't where you're going to spend the majority of your bankroll. You need to take that percentage that you're comfortable with losing about every week and maybe divide it up between a few of these guys. I like Ryan Preece. I also like Christopher Bell to finish like top 3 or top 10. I think that's a pretty good pick. And I'm staying away from trying to pick, who's going to finish as the top manufacturer from each one. I like, the answers that you gave, but for me, I don't think those bets are really worth the squeeze. In the group bets, there's a lot of them that you probably would have to pick the race winner. And if you're going to do that, the odds are better in just picking the race winner. And there's only one of them that I'm really interested in, and I want to get your thoughts on this one, Andrew. Chase Briscoe, who's starting second. Then we have Chris Buescher, who looked really good last night in his duel until he got wrecked. And then Carson Hocevar, and then your race winner, Ryan Preece. You've got all 4 of those guys in one group. Do you stay away from that one, or would you be willing to put some money on Ryan Preece? He's plus 280 in that group.
I feel like group bets, they're just riskier. I mean, Ryan Preece could get taken out lap 1. I know I just said he'd be the winner, but where I think the strategy is place a couple of bets in race winners, guys that have pretty decent odds, and then do what Kevin said to do last week. And that is, all of a sudden they missed that first major wreck, and your payout and your cash out becomes optimal for you. Cash out and then pick someone else up. That's, I think, the advice I could give, at least to start, is place a bet on someone that you feel good about being able to make it through some stages, and then evaluate stage 2, stage 1. And if the cash out seems optimal, then do it. That's where I would say. So for the group bet, I will stick with Ryan Preece just because I think he's going to win it all. But I don't know if that's the strategy this weekend.
All right, so we're getting a little short on time here. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you. You've already said your bet of the week is going to be this Ryan Preece to win. That's 25 to 1 plus 2,500. Is there anything else who else would you be willing to put some money on to kind of extend this bankroll and make sure you maybe hit big and then cover your losses this week?
I like Chase Briscoe. I like Brad Keselowski. He was up front at the end of the dual race until getting into trouble. And just for fun, I'll put something on Justin Allgaier and Jimmy Johnson. This will be small increments, but just to have a little bit of a wide net to then, and this is obviously Monopoly money. I'm not actually betting on this, but those would be the guys that I would do to have some fun. And then you kind of evaluate as the race goes on.
So for me, I know last week I put Kyle Busch in his grave, and I'm going to stick with that. I don't think he's going to win the Daytona 500 this week. It's very hard to win this race from the pole. It's happened 13% of the time in this race. That's 9 out of 67 times the pole winner has won the race. And the last time that happened, 2000 with Dale Jarrett. So It's been 26 years since someone has won this race from the pole. I don't think
Couldn't you say he's due, though?
He might be due, but I've got to stay on that bet that I made last week where I said he's not going to win a race, and I put money on that already. So I gotta pull against Kyle Busch, and I know it's a lot of fun to pull against Kyle Busch when he was Kyle Busch at Joe Gibbs, and now since he's moved to RCR, he's got a little bit more of that, lovable superhero that we would like to see, and we'd like to see him win. So I just can't do it. I'm going to stick with Kyle Busch, the villain, and bet again and bet for him not to win and hope that he doesn't win. But my other bets that I like that John Hunter Nemechek to finish in the top 10 at plus 325. I also like this Ryan Preece Hocevar matchup. They're both at minus 115. I think that one's a little bit of a toss-up. And if you're interested in Ryan Preece at a little bit, lower value, then I think you put money on Ryan Preece. I'm actually going to put money on Hocevar. I thought he looked pretty good, and I think he was very quiet, and he didn't get too aggressive, and we may see him survive and go to the end of this thing. So that matchup is Preece versus Hocevar at minus 115. And then Christopher Bell has been very, very close to winning this race. I think he will get into the top 3 at least. He seems to hang around and have a knack for these super speedways. That bet is plus 600. My 3, John Hunter Nemechek, top 10, that's plus 325. And then Bell, top 3, plus 600, and then Hocevar over Preece at minus 115. And I may do like Andrew does and lay a couple of extra little bets on these winners that have a little bit longer odds, and we may see one of those hit as well. So let's go to our pick'em game. I know that I didn't get any points because I picked Kyle Larson, and he finished somewhere in the back at Bowman Gray. So it was not a great pick for me. So you can go first this week and tell us a little bit about this game again. Refresh our memories.
Yeah, so we can pick one driver. You cannot repeat for the entire season. I don't know if we determine entire season or up until the chase starts, but I will go with the guy that you won't see the rest of the season, Jimmy Johnson.
I like it, and I'm going to pick – that was going to be my pick. I'm going to pick Justin Allgaier because he's in the race, and I don't want to use someone else out of the stable yet. I want to try to backload all of my really good drivers for the end of the year. So he's going Jimmy Johnson. I'm going Justin Allgaier. Remember, this show's about growing your bankroll and helping you have fun while you're watching the race, put a little bit of money on those underdogs, and to help you cash those tickets. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. For Andrew Kurland, I'm David Styles. Thanks for stopping by and listening to us here on Racers Odds.